Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the e-commerce performance marketing show. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to the e-com performance marketing show. And look who we have here. We have one of the legends, someone I greatly respect. I've known him now since late 2014 when I made a impromptu trip to San Diego to go to a Thanksgiving dinner. So this way I can pick his brain because I saw what he was doing in the online space and I wanted to learn from one of the best. And now I am interviewing one of the best here on my show, the Ecom Performance Marketing Show. We have John Lee Dumas here of Entrepreneur on Fire. And he has been on fire since just about day one because he's got the right discipline, the right work ethic, he makes the right decisions, and he has been just killing it and crushing it in the online business space. So I'm really excited to have him here on the show. John, welcome to the show.
Fired up to be here, brother. I don't always make the right decisions, but I move forward from those bad decisions and eventually I get there. And it's crazy to think that it was over 7 years ago. We had that Thanksgiving together, actually over 6 years ago. Nuts, time just flies. And we've seen each other at many, many, many events over the years. It's always good seeing your face, always good watching you create awesome content in this world. So I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Well, let's dive in. You know, I'd love to just dive in and talk about some of the things that you've done in e-com, because I know that over the past few years, you've had different products that you've sold, you know, your books, and, you know, I'd love for you to just maybe share like how, you know, how you were able to get those products that you released to be so successful, and what some of those strategies were. So this way the audience can learn from you and apply some of those strategies to their own businesses.
Yeah, so I've had a few ventures in the e-com space. Back in 2016, I launched my first journal back before everybody was launching journals. So I was a little bit of a pioneer in the space there, called the Freedom Journal, which is accomplish your #1 goal in 100 days. And because it was a unique product, because again, everybody and their mother wasn't doing it, we just crushed it. In 33 days on Kickstarter, we raised $453,000 on a $39 journal. Became the 6th most funded publishing campaign of all time. And just, you know, have gone on to sell, you know, over $1 million worth of that journal. And again, a $39 journal. So that's been a fantastic success. I followed up the following year with the launch of the Mastery Journal, which did $280,000 in 33 days. So like another fantastic showing. And then I followed that up the following year with my 100-day goal journal, which was actually traditionally published with this company called Sterling Publishing. That's, you know, giving me big fat checks every 6 months on the financial side of things. And then we launched the podcast journal last year, which is about creating and launching your podcast in 50 days. And we just launched that straight to Amazon as an e-com product because we just want to get out there into the world as quickly as possible. And, you know, that sells incredibly well on Amazon and is a fantastic funnel into our #1 flagship course product, which is Podcaster's Paradise, the biggest podcasting course and community in the world, teaches people how to create, grow, and monetize their podcast. So the podcast journal is a great filler. We teach people how to create and launch their podcast in the journal. And then of course they want to grow and monetize. So they come to Paradise for that. So it's been a great, you know, number of years now, about 5 years being in the e-com space. There's obviously a lot of challenges in the space. And, you know, a lot of people, I think, use their earnings very loosely in the e-com space. Like, oh yeah, we did $1 million in sales last year, but if I really drill down into your net profit, you're at like $16,000. So like, you know, should you really be bragging and be like promoting e-com to other people who are going to fall into that same trap? Of course, there's real success stories and there's right ways to do it, but it's a tricky business.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, so how did you like scale those? How'd you blow those up so quickly? Because you had some pretty incredible numbers you just shared with all those books that you released. You know, what were some maybe tactics or strategies that you applied that helped those really have that level of success that the audience can also possibly apply to some of their products?
Well, listen, the biggest thing is that I spent 2012 to 2016, creating a daily podcast about successful business tactics, strategies, interviewing successful entrepreneurs about their failures, their struggles, their obstacles, their challenges, their wins, all of that. So I built up an audience that knows, likes, and trusts me. And so when I went to my audience and said, hey, what are you, Fire Nation, struggling with? They told me one of their biggest struggles was setting and accomplishing goals. So I created a solution to my audience's problem. So if anybody wants to, what I consider, do things the right way, you create free, valuable, and consistent content on a real problem that people have. You grow an audience that knows, likes, and trusts you over time because you're solving that problem. Then you ask them what they're struggling with, and then you provide the solution. And that's the reason why I've been able to launch, now 4 successful physical journals, even though we can talk about this later if we get to it. There's some things I would do differently in the future, looking back and learning from some of what I consider mistakes that I made in those launches. But, again, having that audience built in, making sure that this was a real solution to an actual problem that people were willing to pay for. All of these things is what led to the success of these journals.
Yeah, I'm hearing all sorts of great things here, building up a runway, creating content, consistently for years and really committing to it and doing it consistently. And then asking your audience, like, how can you serve them essentially, which is what you did, which led to your products. I think a lot of e-commerce business owners, because I connect with them all the time, I've got them in my coaching program, things like that. A lot of them don't think that they can create like a show, like they don't have the basis for it. What would you say to someone like that?
I say you're at risk. You're at risk for somebody just copying your product and going off and, taking all of your sales. China, anybody else in the world can just copy it. Because if you're a faceless entity can come in and swoop in and take all your stuff. I mean, I think Pat Flynn's a great example with the Switch Pod. Like, people can replicate that Switch Pod, but guess what? People buy through Pat Flynn. They buy the Switch Pod, the name, because they know, like, and trust Pat because of the audience that he's built over the years. And so, of course, China can make a cheaper knockoff, and probably has. I don't know because I'm not really in that space of video equipment. People still buy through Pat. They buy because of Pat's know, like, and trust. And so if you're not doing that stuff and you're trying to take the shortcut, hey, I get it because it's hard work and most people are scared of hard work, but you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, if they want to learn how to do a podcast and build a successful podcast, I mean, they just need to follow you, pick up
Podcasters Paradise, baby,
and go to Podcasters Paradise. That's what I did years ago.
And hey, also, by the way, you can make a great YouTube show that can work. You can do, blogging on tools like Medium or your own website, and you can grow an audience that way. It doesn't have to be through an audio medium or a video medium or a written medium. It can be one of the above or any of them. So, people have done it through social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you piqued my interest a second ago. You said mistakes. You said there were some mistakes that if you were to relaunch these products you just went over in the future, you would do it differently. What were some of those mistakes that you wouldn't mind sharing with the audience?
I think this is really helpful for people in the e-commerce space because it'll make sense to everybody immediately because it just makes sense, even though, sometimes when it's obvious, it's only obvious in hindsight or when you hear it. So I wish I had heard this before. And again, I still was able to push through and have success when I'm about to tell in this story because of the massive loyal audience that I built over the years. But to me, it still was a mistake and a misstep. So amazing launch with the Freedom Journal in 2016 as a physical journal on how to accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. A year later, I said, man, journals work. They're amazing. Let me launch a follow-up to that, the Mastery Journal, how to master productivity, discipline, and focus. And by the way, that journal is my best work ever. It's the best. I am positive anybody that honestly commits to 100 days going through the Mastery Journal, you're going to be blown away with this, like the results that you have, because it's my best work ever. Like the people that actually do the work, which by the way is a tiny fractional percent of the human race that's out there, are blown away with the results and the success that they have.
Day one of 2021, I'm going to go through it.
I've heard it before, Josh.
I will. When I see something, I do it.
When I say day 100 filled out,
I'll be part of that small
I believe you, to be honest. When you say it, I do believe it. But I still want to see page 100 posted on social media when you're done with that.
Cool.
But it's my best work ever. It is so valuable. But the point that I'm getting to is, now I have people that came to me and say, "Oh, John, like I heard you have these journals. Like, well, which one should I buy? Should I buy the Freedom Journal or should I buy the Mastery Journal? And honestly, whenever you create confusion in a buyer, you've already lost. That's the last thing you want. You want there to be one clear, no-brainer option, just like, hey, this is what I have, buy it. So what I should have done in hindsight, instead of creating something that's very similar, I mean, they're very different journals, but I mean, they're two journals and they're 200-day, and there's a lot of similarities with them. And what happened there? Cannibalizing. I've cannibalized some sales because now people are coming, they're saying, should I buy this or should I buy that? So maybe some people are just leaving the store because they're just confused. And sometimes people are just buying one instead of buying both. So I should have done what you call like an ascension to that. Like, what would be a clear ascension to the Freedom Journal? Like, now that you've bought a journal, you've accomplished number one goal, what's the next logical step? And I think, like, a great example would be like, somebody that buys a yoga mat. Well, what's the next logical step after you buy a yoga mat? You don't create another yoga mat that maybe has more padding because they already have a yoga mat. Like, they're not going to like necessarily want a second yoga mat because now they're thinking like, did I make a mistake buying this first one? Well, what about creating like yoga blocks? Because now you need like that. It's like an addition, it's an ascension for the people that are like, oh, I'm really liking yoga, but now I see people, need these blocks for balancing and all this stuff. So that's how you
people like me.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And like, that's why you should be thinking in that way. And I didn't. So instead I've created 4 journals now that frankly, are all fantastic in their own right. And the podcast journal is so different that it doesn't hurt that much. Sales of the prior 3 because it's so specific, which is what that's a good takeaway.
Yep.
But the other 3 journals, they cannibalize themselves in some way and they cause confusion in the marketplace, and it was a mistake in a lot of ways. Now, at the end of the day, I had to create the Mastery Journal because, as I shared with you, it's my best work ever, and it's amazing on what it will do for anybody that struggles with productivity, discipline, and focus, which is every human being in the world. So I'm still glad that I created it, but I see where I went wrong with it.
Okay. Gotcha. So, and I have both those books too. And I went through the Freedom Journal, but I didn't go through the Mastery Journal, and I
man. People are scared.
Well, I don't feel like those discipline, focus, and what was the other one? Productivity. I don't feel like those are big challenges for me necessarily.
Yeah, I can see that. You're a super rarity though. I mean, from the vast majority of people, man, that is such a huge struggle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. I've got like an entrepreneur group out here in Phoenix that I meet with, and I definitely can see that people do struggle with those 3 characteristics.
Yeah, you've got really that kind of like type A, disciplined personality that I come from as well. Like you would have made a good officer in the Army.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, man. Well, cool. Well, I want to wrap this up. I want to be respectful of your time. So something that I do that was actually inspired by you is I go through a bonus round at the end where I ask you 4 questions and you have to answer each of these questions with only one word.
Good, because I also have a pitch at the end too. So let's go.
Okay. What caused your biggest e-com success to date?
Discipline.
Okay. What advice do you have for other e-com business owners?
Focus.
Nice. How would you describe yourself? Don't recycle words.
Productive.
Okay. And what do you see in your future?
Success.
Awesome. And you wanted to give the audience, I guess, some sort of offer or opportunity?
Yeah, not necessarily an offer. I just want to let people know, listen, I have been interviewing people since 2012. I've interviewed over 3,000 successful entrepreneurs. I've distilled that knowledge down, those thousands of hours of conversations, into 17 steps, a roadmap to get to your version of uncommon success. And I took those 17 steps, I compiled them into a book that's called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. And it is my best work. Like the Mastery Journal was my best work until this. The book is complete. Pre-orders are available right now. So go get one for yourself, for a loved one. It is my best work ever. I've also brought on 17 of the best entrepreneurial minds in the world to contribute to this book at every single one of those steps. And it is your roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. Visit uncommonsuccessbook.com, uncommonsuccessbook.com. It would mean the world to me if you will pre-order this book, because it's all about the pre-orders to get the momentum you need in Amazon. So thank you in advance.
That's awesome. UncommonSuccessBook.com.
Yeah, and I expect you to do this right after, Josh. I mean, like, take action, man.
I know.
The bonuses, by the way, that come with this $15 pre-order are insane. I mean insane. There are hundreds and hundreds of dollars
that you mentioned.
Amy Porterfield, Russell Brunson, Ramit Sethi, Jeff Walker, Pat Flynn.
Yep.
I mean, just the top all-star cast, man. You know it.
It's awesome. Of course, it's you. Well, good deal. All right, guys. Well, definitely go to that link, UncommonSuccessBook.com right away. I'm going to do it. I'm going to lead the way. Right after this episode, I'm going to go ahead and jump into that link, and I'm going to pre-order the book myself. But guys, definitely follow John on his show, EO Fire, if you're not already doing it. It's an incredible show, and it's now, 7-8 years you've been doing
8 years.
it? Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Well, John, thank you so much for being on the
Peace out,
show.
brother.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce business.